Hello and welcome to the Kipware SketchPad video outlining the Y-axis capabilities now available inside the Kipware SketchPad. What we're going to do first is go and get a sketch that we have, a sample that we have prepared. And basically you can see that this is on the face of the part. We have the OD of the part. And then we have a pocket that's on the face of the part. The pocket's 1/4 of an inch deep, and we've got some 200 thou radiuses in the corner of the pocket. So we're going to use the Machinist Mode in a couple of ways. We're going to use the Machinist Mode with a little bit bigger end mill to rough out the majority of the pocket. Then we're going to come back with a smaller end mill and do the radiuses in the pocket. And then we're going to come back using the standard Kipware mode and finish the walls of the pocket. So in order to employ the Machinist Mode, which is basically using the mouse as a tool to drive it around the part, first thing I'm going to do is open up my tool library. In this library you can create any kind of a tool that you might need to use in the Machinist Mode, whether it's a turning mode or a milling mode. We're going to grab a 1/2 inch end mill, set it up as our default, and then since this is on the face of the part, we're going to start the sketchpad mode, the Machinist Mode on the face of the part. And you can see that every time I move the mouse, that reflects the position of the tool. We have R, which will change to rapid mode, or F, which is going to be feed mode. And what we basically do in the Machinist Mode is create a 2D flat tool path, and then we can use a conversational menu to describe depth of cut and the total pocket depth. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to position it somewhere in the middle of the pocket. And remember, we're just doing some roughing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click, and now that position gets recorded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the tool as I would move the tool to rough out the part. And we have all our positions recorded. Now what I can do is I can select G-code, and then I can use a fill in the blank form to create the actual dimensional tool path that's going to be for the part. So I'm going to give myself an RPM of 1200. Spindle direction, coolant. I'm not interested in the tool number or the offset number yet. What we're going to do in this particular way is we're going to create a cycle, and then we're going to import that cycle into Kipware T, and then we're going to link everything together with tools in the remainder calls inside Kipware T. The rotary axis position for that pocket is 15 degrees. The coordinate of the top surface is 0. The coordinate of the bottom surface is -250, as the pocket is 1/4 of an inch deep. The distance from the top surface to a clearance plane, you can see that the clearance plane is a little bit closer to the part, someplace we can wrap it around. I'm going to call that 100 thousandths. And then a rapid plane, I'm going to call it as 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to take 50 thousandths depth of cut. The cutter diameter is 1/2 an inch. My plunging feed rate I'm going to set up as 6, and my cutting feed rate I'm going to set up as 12. We could use Kipware CSF, which will automatically give us RPM and feed rate based on the database that we have for our cutting parameters. But just in this video, I'm just going to we want to demonstrate how do you actually create the tool path, so I'm just going to use spindle speeds and feed rates that I input. I'm roughing, so I don't want to use any cutter compensation. I don't want to use any tool approach direction because I've already done that in the Machinist Mode. I'm going to hit the Create G-code. And now we get a little cycle that I've created. It has all my live tooling. It has all my X and Y coordinates and Z coordinates to machine that pocket. I'm going to save it as a Kipware T toolpath, and I'm going to save it as Y-axis rough face 1. So we've roughed the toolpath now with that 1/2 inch end mill. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase everything that I've done. I'm going to go and grab a smaller tool. I'm going to grab this 1/8 end mill, and now you can see that my Machinist Mode now is a smaller tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the around the center of the pocket. I'm going to use a rapid rate here. I'm going to rapid someplace close to here. I'm going to change it to feed. And I'm going to come in and do these. So I'm going to get just a little bit closer by profiling the part. And again, when we get into the conversational screen, we'll be able to do this at depth of cut as well. I'm going to change back to rapid mode, and I'll come back someplace to the start point. Okay, so I created my kind of semi-finishing toolpath using the Machinist mode. Again, I'm going to go back to G-code. I've got some of the stuff is still in that I recorded from the last position, so I'm going to up the RPM to about 2500. Coordinates are the same. Rapid plane, depth of cut. So I'm going to take the depth of cut as 50 thousandths again, I guess. This diameter is going to be 1/875. My plunging feed rate, I'm going to go to 20 because I'm going to be out in space somewhere. And my cutting feed rate, it's going to slow it down a little bit and use 8 inches a minute. So now I'm going to create the program again. And now I've got all my toolpath created to do depths of cut with the Machinist mode that I've created there. Again, I'm going to save this. Y-axis rough face 2. And now I'm going to finish the part. And to finish the part in the Kipware SketchPad, you basically need to find the starting element and then tell it the direction that you want to go around the part, using that starting element. And then the software will automatically link everything together to the ending element. And so what I want to do is I want to start in this particular area right here, right at the end of this arc. I want to come in at an angle like this. I want to go around the part this way all the way down to this element. So the first element that I'm going to machine is actually this arc right here. So I'm going to try to find that up in the SketchPad list box. And so you can see every time I click, I get that element automatically highlighted. The circle being the start point, and when it's the first element in the contour, the start point, the direction of the movement of the cutter is shown by the circle as the start point, and then the cutter would move in this direction, which is exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to set this up as my start point. Then I need to find this line here, which would be my end point. And this line is my end point here. So I'm going to set this up as the end point. And the software will automatically connect everything else together to create a toolpath. So again, I can come to my icon and I can tell it that I want to do live tool on the face of the part. And then I can go back and give it some more information. So 2500 my RPM. I am milling it on the face. 15 degrees for the rotary axis position. 0 minus a quarter of an inch. 100 thousandths to the clearance plane, 200 thousandths to the rapid plane. The depth of cut I want to take this time is going to be 100 thousandths. I'm going to use a 1/875 cutter. My plunging feed rate is going to be 20, and my cutting feed rate is going to be 10. So I want to use cutter compensation in order to be able to make sure that I can adjust the size of that particular pocket. So I'm going around the part like this, so I'm going to use G41. I'm going to use offset number 12, and then I want a tool approach direction. So I want to come in like this to the part and then go around the part like that. So I've got my cutter comp going, my offset and my approach direction. I hit create program, and again I've got my G-code program now to finish the part. Everything's been linked together. The software automatically goes through and calculates all the points to join everything together and to create one toolpath. And now again we're going to save this. I'm going to save it as finish face, and we're done. So we used the Machinist Mode to do some heavy roughing with a 1/2 inch end mill. We did some contour roughing with the 1/875 end mill, and then we did some finished toolpath using the Kipware SketchPad element list and the standard finishing mode inside the SketchPad. And so here we are in Kipware T, and what we can do is after we've created those cycles through the SketchPad, we're going to come back and we're going to load those cycles into the cycle tree. So first we're going to do rough face 1, then we're going to come back and we're going to get rough face 2, and then we're going to come back and get the finish face. So we have all our cycles up in the tree, and what we can do is we can plot them now using Kipware TP. And when we start Kipware TP, let me just reduce this down. So we can use Kipware TP to plot those programs. We're going to be doing some milling on the face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a face mill, a toolpath. And there's our roughing toolpath that we did with the 1/2 inch end mill. There's the 1/875 that we did with the Machinist Mode. And then we should have the finish cut with the standard mode within the SketchPad. So returning back to Kipware T, we have our 3 cycles in here. We can use the main program module now to be able to come in and to create a G-code program from those faces. So what we would do is we would select operation number 1. I'll call this tool number 1. Our spindle speed is already taken care of inside the program. What we're going to do is a start point of X and Z. We're going to call X the part's about 4 inches diameter, so we're going to call this 5 inches and 1/2 inch. And what this is just a rapid point for the tool to come to before it picks up the cycle and then actually does the work within the cycle. So this is just a clearance plane for us to bring the tool before it goes and grabs the cycle and then starts to run the toolpath that's in the cycle. So this is our 1/2 inch end mill. We're going to do rough face number 1. Operation number 2. Again, spindle speed is okay. We're going to do this as 5 inches and 1 inch. This is going to be our rough face number 2. Then operation number 3. And now we can do the finish face. So we've linked all our cycles together to our tools, and then if you had anything else that was had to be done to the part, turning of the part, facing of the part, you could have created a conversational cycle, put it in the tree, and then included that in your main program as well. Let's give it a program number. We've got our Fanuc post, which we has set up as our standard post, and then we're going to create the G-code. And now we have everything linked together. We've got tool number 1, which is doing our roughing, tool number 2, which is going to be doing our semi-roughing, semi-finishing, and then tool number 3, which is doing our finishing program for the part. So that's how the new Kipware SketchPad Y-axis milling mode works, both as with all the toolpaths available within the SketchPad. We have a Machinist Mode where you can manually create your roughing program, and we have the standard finishing application inside the SketchPad as well. And thanks again for your software interest.